Good day, I'm with Tony, Director of First Distribution. Tony, thank you for joining us.
I'm Tony Abrahall, I'm the Executive Director of First Distribution. I've been with the company for 11 years. I've been in the IT industry for 34 years.
Tony, can you tell me what is First Distribution's strategic focus around the next 12 to 24 months?
So the number of focuses. The first thing we're looking at is geographic expansion. So about 2 years ago we started investing into Africa, opened up in Kenya and Nigeria as well as Mauritius. So there'll be more of that. We've got another 4 or 5 countries we hope to open up within the next probably 18 months or so. So from a geographic expansion, that's probably the first thing. Secondly, from a technology area, cloud. So that's not going to change. Security is a big focus for us. We expect our security business to grow by about 300% by 2020. So we're seeing massive growth in that space. And then data, anything to do with data. So data governance, data security, data migrations, data management, as well as data insights. So, how do we get more intelligence out of the data? So that's really where we're putting our money at the moment, investing in those kind of technologies.
How do you manage to remain a leading distributor in this fast technological evolving environment that we're in?
So I think, Dean, it's about selecting the right vendors to work with in the first place. So our strategy is to represent global leading brands. So the likes of IBM and Oracle and Dell, EMC and Hitachi and Amazon and Microsoft. So once you align to the global leading vendors, they put so much money into R&D anyway. So they tend to lead the way, and clearly it gives us a great direction in order to follow. But for us, it's about making sure we attend these multinational, these international events, and making sure that our staff are enabled and are able to articulate the value that the vendor brings to us, to our partners. And then second to that is, once we enable our partners, is how do we help with demand generation? So, getting into a customer environment, looking at how do we drive incremental revenue to what the customer already has. So that's pretty much kind of the strategy.
Tony, obviously we all work with large enterprise organizations, but we're in a fairly entrepreneurial market in South Africa. What advice can you give young entrepreneurs who are looking to sort of get into the tech environment and startup environment from a technological point of view?
Sure. My advice would always be to look to see what the analysts are saying about the trends. So follow the Gartners, follow the Forresters, and look at their recommendations. The thing with that is that's, for me, is more of an investment strategy. So that's what's going to be relevant in the next 2, 3, 4 years. But you've still got to look at what pays the bills today. So, what technology is still selling today. So if I was a startup today and I was, new business, I would still look at the cloud. That for me it's an easy way to get into the business without major investments. Conversations I'm having with customers, with end users, is that there is a massive lack of resources available to help with migration to cloud. So the conversations that customers are having with their traditional business partners around infrastructure are not the same conversations they're going to have with new startup born in the cloud kind of companies. And so it creates an opportunity for those companies born in the cloud to go and have those conversations with customers around specific cloud services.
Tony, are you seeing a lot of your resellers struggling to adapt to the cloud, to the changes that cloud are bringing about? Or what recommendation would you give them to help them stay relevant?
So very much so. And I think what we look at is our traditional resellers today, where and in the context of our business, where data center has been very relevant. And what we're seeing is this shift of data center into public cloud. So that creates a challenge, because what we have is, particularly in South Africa, we have this almost shrinking market with everybody competing for the same space, or actually a smaller space, with migration to public cloud.
So traditional resellers like ourselves that have come from a hardware background, how would you suggest that we adopt to these changes that cloud are bringing about? Or how do you suggest that partners or hardware partners, traditional hardware partners, stay relevant and stay up to date with those changes that are taking place?
Okay. So the conversation that I'm having with these end users is that the traditional partners are not providing that value in terms of driving that cloud migration strategy. So what I believe is, and there's various areas to play. So if you're a traditional infrastructure player, you need to start looking at infrastructure on cloud. So you don't want to diversify too much from your traditional business. You don't want to become a security specialist on cloud when security is not a traditional part of your business. So look at the things that are very similar to what you do today, but just move that into a cloud position.
What do you think we should look out for, 2019, 2020, from a technological point of view?
So, the big discussions are around IoT, AI, machine-based learning, as well as blockchain. So clearly we need to keep our eye on the ball in terms of what's going on there, and we need to be positioning ourselves again for the next 2-3 years, what those technologies, what opportunity they bring to us. However, those still don't pay the bills today. So we've got to look at what is real today. Explosion of data. So, how do we address that? Again, I think data management is important, storage management is important, security management around data, data insights. So those are the things that I would be focusing on. Over and above that, security. With the growth in security, absolutely, that's where you've got to be investing.
There's obviously a lot of hype around Azure coming to South Africa. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, so what we're seeing with this promise of Azure and with local data centers, because that's been one of the restrictions of the adoption of cloud growth, because people are resistant to move their data out of country. So data sovereignty says, keep my data here. So certainly with Azure becoming present, and at some stage AWS being present with local data centers, I think it will accelerate the adoption of public cloud within this country. Having said that, what we're seeing today is probably a doubling year on year of our cloud business. So we're already at 22% of our total revenues come through cloud. So we expect by 2020 more than 50% of our revenues will come out of cloud.
And is that predominantly application as a service versus infrastructure as a service?
So there's a number of things there. In fact, the single biggest workload that we have, and just to give you an example of how quickly it gets adopted, one workload where 6 months ago was $5,000 a month is what we were receiving in revenue from that, is now $100,000 a month for a single workload on cloud. But we're seeing a mix of infrastructure as a service, applications as a service. The other thing that we're doing is that we're providing business partners the opportunity. So we're assisting business partners to build out their own cloud services. And we take those cloud services and then we integrate those into our cloud brokerage. And we have a platform called First for Cloud. So we're enabling South African resellers to become cloud providers, and then taking those solutions, those cloud services, and reselling them to our channel through our brokerage.
Oh, wow. So that really helps a traditional hardware infrastructure reseller to engage in a cloud model, fast track it with minimal capital outlay, and to be able to offer these services to their clients.
Absolutely. So that goes back to the point of, what would you advise to entrepreneurs? I was at an international conference about 3 years ago, and the chairman of one of the large multinational vendors was saying that in his mind there'll be 3 types of resellers going forward. Those that are able to build out their own cloud services, those that have to resell other people's cloud services, and those that will be out of business. So, as a small partner, if you can't build out your own cloud services, then you need to partner with someone who has cloud services that you can resell. And that's what First Distribution offers in our cloud brokerage, is we provide you all of those cloud services with minimal investment to start selling cloud.
Excellent, some good advice. And if people want to engage with First Distribution, how should they go about getting in touch with you guys?
Well, as you know, we only support resellers, so we don't have any end user engagement. But anybody can pick up the phone to any one of our brand managers. So, if you're interested in selling Dell EMC, we have a Dell EMC brand manager. Same with IBM, same with Oracle. So we have relevant brand managers, and we just ask you to pick up the phone and phone those people.
Great, there you have it. Thank you very much, Tony. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Dean.